Welcome back to the deep dive. If you've spent any time online recently, you've probably felt it, right? That kind of dizzying push and pull of the whole AI thing.
Hmm.
On one side, you've got these incredible tools popping up, promising to automate all the boring stuff, unlock creativity.
Yeah, the potential's huge.
But then there's that other feeling, that sort of creeping dread, the AI doom scrolling, people call it. This sense that technology is just moving way too fast, faster than we can really grasp it.
That tension is definitely real.
Yeah.
And there's actually a term for it, the wisdom gap.
For wisdom gap. Oh,
Yeah, it's that point where the tech capabilities, they just surge way ahead of our human ability to really understand the social impacts, the legal stuff, how it all works operationally.
right.
We're seeing it play out right now. You have policymakers scrambling to regulate systems they maybe don't fully get, and the public's trying to figure out these tools that feel, well, increasingly complex, maybe even autonomous.
And that feeling, that opacity, that lack of clarity, that's exactly why the sort of foundational rules of designing technology are being, well, ripped up and rewritten.
They have to be.
So our mission today is to really dive deep into how user experience, or UX, is going through this fundamental reset to deal with these, massive complexities and risks. We're moving into a totally new phase, what our sources are calling UX 3.0.
Guided by these non-negotiable principles of human-centered AI, HCAI.
HCAI. Okay.
Because, look, when we talk about AI, this isn't just standard software anymore. These systems have unique traits, right?
Yeah.
They can act on their own, they learn, they evolve.
And that decision-making process can be a total black box, can it?
Exactly. So the old design methods, the ones built for predictable software, they just can't handle a system that might change its own behavior after it's been deployed.
Right. That's a huge difference.
It is. So we need a new approach.
Yeah.
One that's really tailored specifically to make sure humans stay in control, that there's absolute trust, and that ethics are baked in right from the very start, from line one of the code.
Okay, so to really grasp how big this shift is, let's maybe unpack the evolution a bit. UX didn't just appear with AI, did it? It grew up alongside whatever tech was dominant at the time.
That's a great way to put it.
Can you sort of ground us in those earlier stages? What was the main thing defining, say, UX 1.0?
Sure. So if we look back to, let's say, the late 80s, running through the PC and early internet era, that's what we call UX 1.0, the exploring stage.
Okay.
Back then, the focus was incredibly narrow. The main constraint really was the static nature of the machine, the interface.
Right. Fixed screens, fixed functions, mostly.
Exactly. So UX back then was almost entirely about the usability of the user interface, the UI of individual products. Very siloed. The methods were things like usability engineering, basic UI prototyping.
Okay, straightforward enough. Then around, 2007? The iPhone arrives, mobile internet explodes. That must have forced a big change. That's UX 2.0, the growing stage.
That was the crucial transition, yeah. That mobile shift, it basically forced designers to stop just looking at individual screens in isolation.
You had to think bigger.
You had to think bigger picture. So UX 2.0 expanded the focus way beyond just UI usability to the overall end-to-end user experience.
The whole journey.
A whole journey. The scope suddenly covered the entire product lifecycle. And we started, acknowledging the importance of the wider ecosystem, how someone moves between their phone, their laptop, different services.
Which brings us pretty much up to today, or maybe starting around 2015 onwards. UX 3.0, the maturing stage, driven by AI becoming, everywhere.
Right.
Now we're dealing with systems that aren't just mobile, they're predictive, adaptive. This must mean user needs have just exploded compared to before.
Oh, they absolutely have. Traditional UX was about making sure a button was easy to find and press.
Yeah, pretty much.
UX 3.0 has to grapple with things like natural language interaction, making sure the user actually has meaningful control over an autonomous system.
But how do you even design for that control?
Well, that's the challenge. And then there's providing enough explainability so it's not a black box. Handling huge new privacy concerns. Defining who gets the final, say, human decision-making authority. Even thinking about reskilling users as the tech changes their jobs.
Wow.
The simple truth is, the old methods, the ones built for predictable, non-AI systems, they're just completely insufficient for dealing with autonomous features in systems that learn and change. We need a systematic framework.
And that framework is HCAI.
That framework is HCAI, human-centered AI.
Okay, HCAI. Now, we've heard of human-centered design, HCD, for years. Is this just like a simple rebranding for the AI age, or is there a deeper philosophical difference?
It's definitely more than rebranding. It's a really essential adaptation. So while HCD focuses broadly on human needs, HCAI is specifically tailored to tackle the unique risks and complexities of AI.
Like the opacity, the potential for bias.
Exactly. Bias creep, lack of accountability, the black box problem. HCAI forces a philosophical shift in how we even develop this stuff. We have
What?
to move away from that traditional technology-centered mindset.
Where engineers build it just because they can.
Pretty much, yeah. Instead, HCAI forces us to prioritize human values, real societal needs, and actual human capabilities right from the outset. That comes first.
So it's really about flipping the intent, making sure the machine serves the person, not the other way around.
Precisely.
I kind of like the idea of thinking of AI less like some single all-knowing brain and maybe more like a really powerful toolkit, like a Swiss Army knife maybe.
That's a great analogy, actually.
It has tons of capabilities, but the human is always the one deciding, which tool to pull out, why they need it, and how to use it safely.
That perfectly captures the core goal.
Hmm.
HCAI is fundamentally about augmenting human abilities, helping us do more, and serving real societal needs. It's not primarily focused on outright replacement.
That's a crucial distinction.
It is. And if it's designed correctly, using HCAI principles, the experience should really empower users, make them more productive, ensure they always feel in control, align with our shared values. And it needs to be collaborative, trustworthy, and frankly, still easy to use.
That focus is what makes the tech safe and actually useful then.
Exactly. It's the guardrails.
Okay, let's get into the nitty-gritty then. If HCAI is the philosophy, what are the sort of practical building blocks? The sources mention 4 specific types of experience that designers need to start creating. Let's start with the first one, the ecosystem-based experience.
Right. So this one immediately shatters that old siloed model we talked about with UX 1.0.
No more designing just one app in isolation.
Not at all. The scope is now potentially vast. UX 3.0 has to ensure a completely seamless, consistent experience across potentially many integrated systems, some AI, some not.
Can you give an example?
Think about a citywide intelligent transportation system. That's a massive multi-agent network, right? You've got smart traffic lights talking to autonomous vehicles, which are talking to navigation apps on people's phones.
Wow, okay.
The UX challenge there isn't just one screen. It's designing a coherent, trustworthy experience across all those different, often invisible, touchpoints.
And critically, this scope, it's not just about what the user finally sees or interacts with. It spans the entire AI lifecycle, doesn't it, from beginning to end?
Exactly right. UX involvement has to start way earlier now, even before launch, managing the brand, setting realistic expectations for what the AI can actually do.
Managing expectations seems huge with AI.
It's crucial. Then it continues through model training, deployment, the continuous learning phase, and really critically, through ongoing AI behavior monitoring.
Monitoring. Why is that a UX concern?
Because AI systems adapt. They learn. Designers have to ensure there are mechanisms built in to detect and ideally mitigate AI drift.
Drift. You mean like when the AI starts doing things it wasn't originally intended to do?
Precisely. When its behavior subtly shifts over time, maybe in undesirable or biased ways. And beyond the tech, we absolutely must integrate this socio-technical environment.
Socio-technical meaning.
Meaning you have to consider the organization where the AI is used, the cultural context, the existing work systems and workflows. You need to ensure things like fairness, trust, and cultural relevance are designed in, and that the AI actually optimizes how people work together, not disrupts it.
That's a massive expansion of responsibility for a designer. Okay, let's move to the second type. The AI-enabled experience. This sounds like it changes the user's role quite fundamentally.
It really does. The user shifts from being just a passive recipient of information or functionality to being an active participant with the AI.
Okay, how does that look in, say, a creative professional's daily work?
Well, the transformation can be dramatic, especially in what we call collaborative experiences. Think about a designer using one of these new generative design platforms.
Right, working with an LLM or something similar.
Exactly. In the past, maybe they'd spend, 3 hours wireframing, sketching, trying to come up with 3 distinct concepts.
Sounds about right.
Now, they input detailed constraints, their creative intent, maybe some examples, into the LLM. The system then rapidly generates tons of options, and the human designer steps in to curate, refine, guide the output. It's a co-design process.
So they can create and differentiate maybe dozens of complex concepts in what?
In potentially under 10 minutes, for that initial ideation phase, it totally changes the workflow.
It really shifts the designer's job then, doesn't
Mhm.
it? From pure execution to more like orchestration and critical refinement.
Precisely. And we also see this AI-enabled experience in things like context-aware systems.
Meaning the system adapts based on what?
Based on all sorts of inputs. It could be multimodal, maybe adapting a retail kiosk interface based on where the user is looking using gaze tracking,
Mm.
or adjusting a chatbot's tone based on detecting frustration in the user's voice or facial expression.
Whoa.
Yeah, the experience becomes constantly customized. Predictive personalization is happening almost instantaneously.
Okay, that's fascinating, maybe slightly creepy too. Let's talk about the third type, the human-AI interaction experience. This seems to be where we directly confront those black box and trust issues we mentioned earlier.
Absolutely. This is where we really have to implement explainable AI or XAI.
Explainable AI, making the black box less black.
Essentially, yes,
Hmm?
because we simply cannot ask users to blindly trust systems making critical decisions. Think healthcare diagnostics or loan applications in finance.
Right, the stakes are too high.
Way too high. So UX design has to find ways using clear visualizations, maybe simple summaries, transparent interface models, to communicate how the AI reached a particular decision or recommendation.
Does it have to show, like, every single calculation? That seems overwhelming.
No, probably not. That would be cognitive overload. But it needs to provide clear reasoning paths, show the key factors it considered, enough for the user to understand the why and build trust.
But hang on, isn't there a tension here between needing perfect explainability and wanting, super fast, high-performance AI? Often the most complex models, the best performers, are the hardest ones to explain.
That's a critical tension. You're absolutely right. And UX 3.0 design has to manage that trade-off. The design team needs to decide, based on risk and context, which parts of an AI system absolutely require high transparency and which parts can perhaps prioritize speed or performance, maybe with other safeguards in place.
So it's a balancing act.
It's a constant balancing act. And furthermore, HCAI demands what we call a user participatory experience.
Meaning the user gets involved in how the AI behaves.
Yes. Users need to be empowered to actually influence the autonomous AI behavior. There need to be accessible feedback loops, ways for them to flag weird outputs during real-world use.
So if the machine messes up, the user has a way to correct it.
Exactly. A clear pathway to intervene, maybe provide corrective data, help modify the system's learning crucially without needing a PhD in machine learning or knowing how to code.
That pathway to intervene, that feels like a really core mechanism for maintaining that human control we talked about.
It absolutely is. And this all leads towards the idea of an intelligent UI.
Intelligent UI.
Yeah, where the interaction isn't just user initiates, system responds, it's more dynamic.
Yeah.
Both the human and the AI can initiate interaction based on the evolving context, user intent, maybe even predicted needs.
So the AI might proactively suggest something.
It could. We see this emerging in the design of sophisticated prompt UIs for generative AI, or interfaces that can perceive and respond appropriately to emotional cues, making the machine feel genuinely collaborative, not just reactive.
Okay. That leads us to the fourth type, the innovation-enabled experience. This sounds like it's about using AI to actually come up with new stuff, maximizing something called hybrid intelligence. How does AI drive innovation here beyond just making existing workflows faster?
So the innovation part comes from using AI systems to potentially uncover genuinely unmet user needs, things that humans, using traditional methods like surveys or focus groups, might simply miss. AI can process absolutely vast amounts of unstructured data. Think social media chatter, customer support logs, forum discussions, maybe even observational data from sensors. It can spot subtle, latent patterns, identify emerging pain points or desires.
And then suggest novel solutions or opportunities that the human team maybe hadn't even thought of.
Exactly. It can surface the need, point towards the gap, and then hybrid intelligence comes in to figure out the best way to meet that need.
Okay, so define hybrid intelligence.
Hybrid intelligence is all about dynamically allocating tasks between humans and AI based on their complementary strengths.
What humans are good at versus what AI is good at.
Right. Humans excel at complex creativity, nuanced ethical judgment, handling ambiguity, common sense reasoning. AI excels at massive computation, finding patterns in data, speed, consistency, tireless iteration.
So UX design's job is to figure out who does what when.
Precisely. Optimize that dynamic functional allocation. The goal is to build really strong, effective human AI teams that have shared goals and ideally reasonably accurate mental models of how the other agent human or AI operates.
And getting that optimization right leads to better outcomes.
Significantly better system performance, better decision-making, and ultimately a much better, more innovative user experience.
Well, this really sounds like the designer's job description has fundamentally changed. It requires a whole new level of technical literacy
It
almost.
really did.
If UX 3.0 demands this system-wide thinking, what does this new designer mindset actually look like day to day?
Well, designers absolutely have to leave behind that traditional, narrower focus solely on usability or aesthetics. They need to adopt a much more holistic, strategic, ecosystem-aware, and socio-technical aware mindset.
They can't just worry about pixels and button placement anymore.
Not even close.
And practically, that means their scope, their area of concern, it stretches way beyond just the front-end screen that the user sees, right? You mentioned optimizing the entire system stack.
That is probably the single biggest practical change.
Yeah.
UX responsibility now extends across the entire stack. Yes, the front-end UI, what the user sees and interacts with, but also, critically, the middle layer.
The AI itself.
Yeah, the AI logic, the decision models, the algorithms being used, maybe surprisingly to some, even the back-end data pipelines.
Why on earth should a UX designer care about back-end data pipelines? Isn't that engineering's job?
It used to be solely engineering's job, but think about it. Where does AI bias often originate?
In the data it's trained on.
Exactly. If those back-end data pipelines are flawed, if the data quality is poor or skewed, you inevitably introduce bias into the model. And that bias will surface in the user experience, violating the core HCAI principle of fairness.
Ah, okay. So designers now have to be involved there to ensure ethical alignment from the source.
They are fundamentally responsible for ensuring ethical alignment, fairness, privacy, transparency. These things need to be built into the very architecture of the system, starting with the data. They can't just be cosmetic fixes applied to the interface later.
That sounds like it requires intense multidisciplinary collaboration. Way more than in the UX 1.0 days.
But absolutely essential. Effective UX 3.0 just isn't possible in a silo. You have to be fluent across disciplines. Meaning you need to work hand in glove with the AI engineers building the models, with data scientists who understand bias detection and mitigation techniques, with human factors, scientists looking at cognitive load and trust calibration.
And ethicists too, presumably?
Critically, yes. With ethicists who can help navigate the complex trade-offs around fairness, privacy, autonomy. The UX designer, in many ways, becomes the central translator in that team, the advocate ensuring human values are understood and protected throughout the entire system architecture.
Wow. This has been a really comprehensive breakdown of, well, unnecessary but pretty daunting evolution in design practice.
It is a lot to take in.
So for those of us listening, maybe feeling that pressure of the wisdom gap you mentioned, that constant feeling of needing to catch up, to relearn, what's your final piece of advice? How do we navigate this?
I think the first step is you have to embrace the discomfort, honestly. This feeling of needing to adapt, to constantly relearn new systems, new capabilities, new risks, that's not going away. That is the new normal for anyone working with this technology.
So lean into the learning curve.
Exactly. Except that the UX methods and mindsets that worked for the last, say, 2 decades, they're just not adequate for this new AI paradigm. You have to evolve.
Okay.
But also, try to focus your energy on the incredible positive opportunities here. AI really can revolutionize science, make healthcare more accessible, personalize education in amazing ways.
Yeah.
And it's a big if we steer its development with clear intention, with care, with human values front and center.
But be critical but constructive.
Be critical, especially of claims about full autonomy. Always, always insist on designing for meaningful human oversight and control.
It really feels like the ultimate choice is ours then, and it's being made right now in every single design decision teams are making today.
That's absolutely true.
Since we're the ones building these incredibly powerful tools, we have to keep asking ourselves that fundamental question. What reality are we actually trying to create here? Are we aiming for futures where AI systems genuinely augment our abilities, enhance our control, help us solve big problems? Or are we just sort of passively letting them evolve towards ever-increasing machine autonomy, potentially leading to human replacement in more and more areas? That choice, it seems, is made in the design.
It is. Every single day.
Well, thank you so much for walking us through this. It's been a fascinating deep dive into UX 3.0 and the crucial role of human-centered AI.